You hand a tablet to a 7-year-old, and within seconds they're swiping, skipping, optimizing. No instructions, no hesitation. Meanwhile, you're still figuring out the settings. It's easy to call that natural talent, or say they're just better with technology. But something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Gen Alpha isn't simply learning new tools. Their brains are developing inside a completely different psychological environment. One built on algorithms, instant feedback, and constant connection. To understand them, we need to understand what's shaping their attention, identity, and emotional world from the very beginning. Gen Alpha, born roughly after 2010, is the first generation raised fully inside algorithmic systems. Their toys are interactive, their classrooms are digital, their entertainment adapts to them in real time. From a neuroscience perspective, this matters. Childhood is when neural pathways are most flexible. Repeated experiences shape attention span, reward sensitivity, emotional regulation, and even how identity forms. When a brain grows up in an always connected environment, it adapts to speed, personalization, and constant stimulation. What feels overwhelming to adults can feel normal to them because it has always been there. That doesn't make this generation better or worse. It makes them different. Let's start with the biggest shift: attention. Algorithm-shaped attention is when your focus is trained by systems that constantly adjust to keep you engaged. Platforms use predictive data to deliver content that matches your interests, pace, and emotional triggers. For Gen Alpha, this isn't a feature, it's the baseline. Their attention isn't wandering randomly. It's being continuously redirected by design, with every swipe teaching the system what to show next. Over time, this can sharpen rapid pattern recognition and adaptability. They become skilled at scanning information, filtering quickly, and switching between inputs. But it can also reduce tolerance for slow or non-interactive experiences. Waiting feels unnatural. Boredom feels almost threatening because they're used to environments that respond instantly. Imagine a child watching short-form videos that switch scenes every few seconds. Later, they sit in a traditional classroom lecture. Even if the topic is interesting, the pace feels unusually slow, almost uncomfortable. When attention becomes fast and adaptive, reward systems shift too. Dopamine on demand refers to immediate, repeatable reward feedback through likes, levels, notifications, and interactive games. The brain releases dopamine not only when you receive a reward, but when you anticipate it. Digital environments are designed around this anticipation. You tap the screen, you expect something, a sound, a badge, a visual effect. That cycle of anticipation and payoff repeats hundreds of times a day. For Gen Alpha, this can strengthen motivation in game-based learning and interactive education. They respond quickly to feedback and often enjoy skill progression. But it can also make delayed gratification harder to tolerate. Long-term rewards, like studying for a future goal, feel abstract compared to instant digital reinforcement. Picture a child completing a level in a game. Bright colors flash. Music celebrates. A score appears instantly. Now, compare that to studying for a test, where the reward comes days later. The brain naturally gravitates toward what feels immediate, and when rewards are public, identity starts forming in a different way. Performance-based identity develops when self-worth becomes tied to visible metrics like followers, views, or reactions. In previous generations, social comparison was mostly local. You compared yourself to classmates, neighbors, maybe a few celebrities. For Gen Alpha, comparison is global and quantifiable. Numbers provide constant feedback about perceived value. How many views? How many likes? How many subscribers? This can encourage creativity and even early entrepreneurial thinking. Children learn branding, presentation, and audience awareness at younger ages. But it can also increase social anxiety and fear of invisibility. Validation becomes measurable, and silence can feel like rejection. Imagine a child posting a drawing online. Instead of simply enjoying the act of creating, they refresh the page to check the reaction. If it receives fewer likes than a previous post, it may feel like a personal failure, even if the drawing itself is strong. When identity is partially external, emotional resilience becomes even more important. Emotional acceleration is the experience of encountering complex emotional themes at younger ages due to unrestricted information access. Online platforms expose children to global news, adult humor, social debates, and cultural shifts earlier than any previous generation. The barrier between childhood and the adult world is thinner because information flows freely. This can increase awareness and empathy. Children may develop early understanding of global issues or social diversity, but it can also create premature stress. The nervous system processes information even when cognitive maturity isn't fully developed. Exposure doesn't always equal readiness. Consider a child who learns about global crises through trending videos. They absorb images and narratives about events they cannot influence. Even without fully understanding the context, their body may register anxiety. At the same time, constant connectivity reshapes social development itself. Hyper-connected social wiring refers to growing up with continuous peer access through messaging, gaming, and shared digital spaces. Social interaction no longer ends when the school bell rings. It extends into evenings through group chats, online games, and social platforms. The social brain, which is already highly sensitive in childhood and adolescence, is engaged almost constantly. This can strengthen collaborative skills and cross-cultural awareness. Children learn to communicate across distances and navigate diverse perspectives. But it can also reduce the downtime needed for emotional processing. Social comparison becomes continuous rather than occasional. Imagine a disagreement at school. In previous generations, you went home and had space to cool off. Now, the conflict can continue in group chats late into the night. Notifications keep the social loop active, and the brain struggles to fully disengage. And beneath all of this, there's one more psychological shift shaping Gen Alpha. Adaptive intelligence is the ability to quickly learn new systems, platforms, and tools. Fluid identity refers to comfort with changing roles and self-expression. When environments update constantly, flexibility becomes a survival skill. Platforms evolve, trends shift, interfaces redesign overnight. Children learn early that what works today may not work tomorrow. So they adapt quickly, experimenting without hesitation. This can make Gen Alpha highly innovative and comfortable with trial and error. They are often less intimidated by new technologies and more open to creative experimentation. But it may also create uncertainty around stable identity formation. If self-presentation can be edited at any moment, it can feel harder to anchor who you are offline. Picture a child experimenting with different avatars, usernames, and creative personas online. Each version highlights a different aspect of self. They learn to shift presentation depending on context. So when you zoom out, these mechanisms paint a bigger picture. Their attention is shaped by adaptive systems that train them to move quickly and filter constantly. Their reward circuits are conditioned for immediacy, strengthening motivation but challenging patience. Their identity forms in public metrics, where validation is visible and comparison is global. Their social world is always on, expanding connection while reducing quiet recovery time. And their intelligence is highly adaptive and flexible, built for change, but still searching for stability. Gen Alpha isn't growing up too fast. They're growing up differently inside a digital ecosystem their brains are learning to navigate. If this helped you understand Gen Alpha a little more clearly, let me know your thoughts in the comments and consider subscribing for more Psychology Explained Simply. Understanding a generation starts with understanding the environment shaping their minds.